The night the heart went into the earth, the sky was darker than charcoal. No moon, no stars, only a thick cover of clouds that pressed down on the village of Ubahun like a giant suffocating palm. The elders used to say that when the heavens hid their lights, the spirits were moving. And on that night, they moved with purpose. Nkem stood alone behind her father's abandoned compound, holding a clay pot that throbbed faintly in her hands. Yes, throbbed. Her fingers trembled. Her breath quivered. Every part of her wanted to fling the power far away. But she couldn't, because inside that pot was something she could no longer carry inside her chest. Her heart. That was what she told herself. That was the lie she swallowed. The truth would come later. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and old secrets. The compound behind her father's house had once been a cassava farm, but after the tragedy that shattered their family, the land grew wild. Tall elephant grass rustled like restless spirits. Fireflies blinked randomly, their lights flickering like tiny warnings. Nkem tightened her grip on the clay pot and stepped forward. Her feet sank slightly into the soft earth. She was barefoot, the way the ritual demanded. Her wrapper clung to her damp legs, soaked by the humidity of the night. Her hair, undone, whipped gently behind her in the breeze. She looked around. Nothing moved. Yet everything felt alive. "I cannot carry this again," she whispered to herself. "If I bury it, maybe I will breathe." She didn't know who taught her the ritual, or maybe she did. Maybe the knowledge had seeped into her bones through years of grief, like rain seeping into cracked earth. After her mother died, then her father, then... She stopped the thought. Her fingers clenched the pot so tightly her knuckles whitened. Don't think about her. Her twin, her shadow, her mirror, Nina. The pieces of that night fluttered in Nkem's mind like torn photographs. Her sister's scream, a flash of something sharp, blood on the floor, their father shouting, a storm outside, and then silence. Years of silence. Nkem swallowed hard. "This burial will end it," she said to herself. "It must." She knelt and began to dig with her bare hands. The dirt was warm, damp, alive. It clung stubbornly to her fingers, getting under her nails. She dug faster, harder. The sound of shifting earth felt too loud in the stillness of the night. Sweat rolled down her forehead, mixing with tears she didn't remember shedding. As she dug, her mind drifted. She remembered laughter, hers and Nena's, echoing through this same compound when they were young. They were inseparable then, two halves of a single soul. Nina, bold and fierce. Nkem, soft-hearted and observant. They balanced each other, until they didn't, until the jealousy, the comparisons, the love that twisted into rivalry, the rivalry that twisted into something darker. Nkem's fingers hit a stone. She flinched, then continued digging until she carved out a hollow space deep enough to hold the pot. Her breath trembled. Her chest tightened painfully. She looked at the clay pot. It looked ordinary, brown with faded etchings spiraling around its surface. But inside it was the organ she had removed, the organ that refused to die. She pressed the pot against her forehead and let out a shaky exhale. "One last time," she whispered. "Let me be free." She lowered the pot into the hole. The moment it touched the earth, something strange happened. The ground pulsed, a faint vibration, like a heartbeat echoing up through her knees. Nkem froze. No breeze by, no sound. Just a low, rhythmic thump, thump, thump vibrating beneath her. She shut her eyes so tightly her eyelashes wet her cheeks. "It is imagination," she told herself. "Trauma is playing games." She quickly covered the pot with soil, pushing the dirt back with trembling hands. The heartbeat grew louder for a moment, then softened, faded, and finally vanished. When the grave was filled, Nkem smoothed the top with her palm. Her fingers left streaks on the ground, forming shapes she did not intend. Circles, spirals, a crooked line. The kinds of patterns Nena used to draw in the sand when she was thinking. A cold shiver crawled up Nkem's spine. She stood abruptly. Her knees wobbled. Her throat tightened as a surge of memories rose in her chest. Laughter, screams, whispers, blood. "No," she whispered. "Tonight is for letting go." She took a step back. But then the ground trembled. Not a full shake, not an earthquake. More like a heartbeat. Thump. Nkem's breath caught. Thump. The soil above the buried pot shifted slightly, like something inside was pushing upward. Nkem stumbled backward, her hand flying to her mouth. Her heart raced wildly. She stared at the ground. It stopped. Silence. She waited. Stillness. Then a soft whisper drifted through the grass. "Nkem." Nkem's blood turned to ice. Her entire body stiffened. She looked around, but the compound was empty. The whisper came again, closer, softer, almost familiar. Nkem, why did you bury me? Her breath shattered. No, no, she whispered, shaking her head. That is not real. That is not. The wind picked up suddenly, whipping her wrapper around her legs. The trees swayed violently, though the sky remained starless and calm. Fireflies blinked all at once. The soil at her feet pulsed again, louder. Thump! Nkem screamed and stumbled back, falling onto her elbows. Panic strangled her breath. She scrambled to her feet and ran toward the house. Her bare feet slapped against the ground as she dashed through the tall grass. Her lungs burned. Her vision blurred. Behind her, the ground gave one final, heavy heartbeat. Thump. Then silence swallowed the night. Nkem burst into the old house. Her hands shook violently as she slammed the door behind her. The wood rattled. The house, abandoned for years, smelled of dust, mildew, and memories. Her chest heaved as she leaned against the wall. No more, she whispered. No more voices, no more ghosts. But even as she spoke, the silence around her felt wrong, too quiet, too expectant, as though the night itself was holding its breath. She slid down the wall and hugged her knees. She wanted to believe she imagined it. But deep down, she knew the truth. The heart she buried was not dead. The past she thought she killed was waking up. And in the dark corner of the room, something moved. Nkem lifted her head sharply. A shadow clung to the wall, long, slender, too tall to be hers. It tilted its head slowly, exactly the way Nina used to do. Nkem's breath left her body in a thin, terrified thread. Nina? She whispered. The shadow flickered and vanished. The wind outside died. And in the silence that followed, Nkem realized tonight was only the beginning. The heart she buried would not stay buried. Not now, not ever. Morning arrived without sunlight. A heavy fog hung low above the village, turning everything into silhouettes, houses, trees, footpaths. Even the roosters crowed as if unsure of themselves. Ubahun had known many strange dawns, but this one felt different. The air carried an unsettling weight, like a warning the sky refused to speak. Inside the old family house, Nkem jolted awake on the dusty couch where she had collapsed. Her heart thudded wildly in her chest. Sweat clung to her skin. The dream, no, the memory, still clung to her mind. Nina's face, half in shadow, half in blood, her wide eyes staring. Nkem pressed a hand to her forehead. It was just a nightmare, she whispered, but then she heard it. A soft, steady thump. Thump, thump. So faint she thought it was her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Except it wasn't coming from her chest. It was coming from the floor, right underneath her feet. She shot to her feet, trembling. The sound stopped instantly, like something had paused to listen. Nkem backed away from the center of the room until her heel hit an old stool. Her breath shook. No, she whispered. This house is playing tricks. The house had always felt different after the tragedy. Rooms whispered when the windows were closed. Doors that should stay open drifted shut on their own. Their father always blamed termites. Their mother blamed trauma. Nina blamed spirits. And Nkem, she had never blamed anyone. She simply left, abandoning the memories and the house behind. Until last night. A knock sounded at the front door. She jumped so hard the stool toppled. The knock came again. 3 slow taps. Nkem, a male voice called. Is anyone inside? Her blood turned cold. Who would come here? Nobody knew she had returned, not even the villagers. She had waited until nightfall to travel to Ubahun, slipping in like a ghost. She cleared her throat but didn't approach the door. Yes? She called out. It's Emeka, the voice replied. Emeka. The name struck her like a distant memory. She moved closer, cautious, peering through a crack in the wooden door. A tall young man stood outside, early 30s, wearing a brown jacket and carrying a satchel. His face was familiar yet blurred by time. He had been their childhood neighbor. Calm, quiet, always watching. Nkem swallowed and opened the door a crack. Emeka, what are you doing here? He didn't smile. His eyes scanned her quickly, almost clinically, before softening. You look tired, he said gently. She stiffened. She hated when people said that. It meant they could see past her mask. I'm fine, she said. Why are you here? Because. He shifted uncomfortably. I saw you last night, Nkem froze. Saw me? Where? Behind your father's compound, he replied quietly. You were burying something. Her stomach plummeted. You followed me? No, he shook his head. I was passing through from the path behind the farm. When I saw someone digging, I thought it was a grave robber or something dangerous. I didn't know it was you until the fireflies lit up." Nkem looked away, jaw tight. "And?" she whispered. "And?" He hesitated, his voice dropping lower. "What you buried was beating." Her breath stopped cold. He looked shaken, genuinely shaken. "I don't believe in superstitions," he said, "but I know what I saw." Nkem gripped the door tightly. "You should forget it," she said through clenched teeth. "You didn't see anything." His eyes lingered on her, as though searching her face for the truth hidden beneath exhaustion and fear. "I knew Nena," he said softly. "I know what happened changed you." Nkem flinched violently. "Stop," she whispered. Amika exhaled. "All right, but listen. If something is wrong, I can help. You shouldn't be alone here." She hesitated, because part of her wanted to scream mooing. Yes, something is wrong. Something is terribly, horribly wrong. But another part of her clung to silence like a lifeline. "I'm fine," she repeated and shut the door before he could respond. She stood there, forehead pressed against the wood, trembling. Why had he brought up Nena? Why now? She backed away until she reached the living room again. The heartbeat sound had stopped, but the air still felt thick, like someone unseen was breathing beside her. "Nena is gone," she whispered. "You are gone." But as soon as the words left her mouth, a gust of wind slammed through the windows, blowing them open so violently they banged against the walls. Curtains flapped like frantic birds. Papers scattered. The room chilled instantly. Nkem staggered back. Something whispered through the wind. A voice, soft, familiar. "Nkem, why did you lie?" She clamped her hands over her ears and shut her eyes tightly. "Stop!" The wind dropped instantly. Dead silence returned. But Nkem knew the haunting had begun. By mid-afternoon, Nkem forced herself outside. She needed air, space, sanity. But the village felt different. People whispered more. Eyes lingered longer. Children ran past her with sticks and palm fronds, reenacting some kind of chase. Ubahun was small, tight-knit. Everyone knew each other's business. But she hadn't expected them to look at her with this mixture of pity and curiosity. Some greeted her softly. Some avoided her eyes. One elderly woman muttered, "Trouble returns with footsteps," as she passed. Nkem clenched her jaw. She walked to the marketplace, hoping for noise to drown her thoughts. But even here, the bustling chatter felt muffled, distant. She bought palm wine from a vendor she didn't recognize. He accepted her money, stared at her for a long moment, then asked, "You came back for her spirit, Abi?" Nkem nearly dropped the bottle. "What?" He leaned in. "They say twins don't stay dead. They come back to finish what was unfinished." She walked away before he finished the sentence. Her breath trembled as she entered a lonely footpath that led back to the family house. The trees rustled gently as if whispering warnings. Then she saw Emeka sitting on a fallen tree trunk ahead of her, waiting. Nkem's pulse spiked. He stood as she approached. His eyes were cautious, almost apologetic. "Nkem, please, talk to me." "There's nothing to talk about." "There is," he insisted. "The grave, the heart, the voices." She froze. "How do you know about the voices?" "I don't," he said, "but I guessed." She took a shaky step back. "I don't want to remember anything from that night," she whispered. Emeka's posture softened. "Oh, I know what people say happened, but I never believed it." "Then what do you believe?" "That you didn't kill Nena." Nkem's throat tightened painfully. "You're wrong," she whispered. "I saw her die." "No," he said firmly. "You saw what someone wanted you to see." She stared at him. "What are you talking about?" Emeka opened his mouth to respond, but then the ground beneath their feet trembled. A low, rhythmic thump, thump, thump pulsed from the direction of the compound. Nkem's blood ran cold. Emeka turned toward the sound, startled. "What was that?" Nkem whispered. "The heart." They reached the burial site just as the fog cleared from the afternoon sun. The soil was disturbed. Fresh cracks ran across the surface of the ground, thin but unmistakable, as though something had pushed upward from below before going still again. Nkem covered her mouth with shaking hands. Amika crouched and touched the soil. It vibrated faintly under his fingers. "This is not normal," he murmured. "Ameka," her voice broke. "I think I'm losing my mind." He stood, eyes softening. "You're not. Something happened here, something that's been buried, literally and figuratively, for years." She closed her eyes tightly. "Ameka, I remember that night," she whispered. "I remember the blood. I remember." "Do you remember clearly?" he asked gently. She hesitated. "Do you remember clearly?" The truth was, her memories of that night were fogged, fragmented, broken into flashes. Nina screaming, their father shouting, a knife, a fall, blood, silence. Then their father dragging her away, telling her not to speak, telling her what to remember. Nkem's breaths turned shallow. Nkem, Emeka said, stepping closer, trauma affects memory, the mind fills in gaps. He paused, and sometimes lies are added. She looked at him sharply. What lies? Emeka swallowed. Your father. He came to me 2 weeks after Nina died. He told me to stay away from you. He said if anyone asked questions, I should say you were unstable, dangerous, violent. Nkem staggered backward. No, she whispered, he wouldn't. He also said, Emeka continued quietly, that what happened that night was an accident. Her heart stopped. What? He said neither of you meant for it to happen, but the story he told the villagers, the one everyone whispers, that story was not the truth. Nkem's mind spun. So her father had lied? Then what really happened? She pressed her hands to her temples as a sharp wave of pain shot through her skull. And suddenly, flash, a small hand pushing her shoulder. Nina's voice, you always get everything. A struggle, a fall, a crack. Nina's body hitting the floor, but no knife, no stabbing, no murder. Just a fall. Nkem gasped and stumbled forward, grabbing a tree for support. The memory hit her like a punch. It wasn't what she remembered. It wasn't what she had been told. Her father had built a memory for her, a memory soaked in guilt. Nkem! Emeka rushed to her side. She sank to the ground, tears streaming down her face. I didn't kill her, she whispered in shock. I didn't kill her. But then, if she didn't kill Nina, whose heart did she bury? She lifted her eyes to the grave, and her stomach dropped. A thin, dark red line of liquid seeped from a crack in the soil. Slowly, thickly, like something was bleeding beneath the earth. Emeka stepped back in horror. What is that? Nkem's voice trembled. It's not mine. The heartbeat grew louder. Thump. Emeka stared at the grave, eyes wide with fear. What did you bury, Nkem? Her breath came in shallow bursts. She whispered the truth that now terrified her more than the memories. I think I buried my sister. Emeka stared at her in disbelief, and the grave gave another deep, monstrous heartbeat. Thump. Nkem felt something awakening. Something ancient. Something angry. Something familiar. The sky darkened suddenly. The wind died. Birds went silent. And in the suffocating stillness, a voice whispered behind Nkem, You buried me alive, sister. Nkem froze. Every muscle in her body stiffened. She turned slowly, but no one stood there, yet the voice lingered like breath on the back of her neck. Emeka grabbed her arm. We need to leave, now. No, Nkem whispered, eyes locked on the grave. If I run, she'll follow me forever. She? He repeated. Nkem stared at him, my twin. Emeka's face paled. Nkem, Nina died years ago. Did she? Nkem asked in a hollow voice. Or did my father bury her somewhere else and tell me she was gone? What if this is not her spirit, but her body trying to surface? Emeka's eyes widened as the implications hit him. Nkem, we need help. A doctor, a priest, someone. No, she whispered. There's only one thing I need. What? She pointed at the grave. I need to dig. Emeka shook his head violently. That is madness. No, she said with eerie calm. Madness was thinking I could bury the past and walk away. This is truth. She stepped toward the grave. Emeka tried to hold her back, but she shook free. Nkem knelt before the grave. Her hands hovered over the soil. Her heart pounded. Nina, she whispered, if you are alive, if you are trapped, I'm here. I'm not afraid. She dug her fingers into the soil. Emeka cursed under his breath and dropped to his knees beside her, helping despite his fear. The earth was warm, too warm, like flesh. They dug faster, harder. Soil flew in all directions. The heartbeat grew louder, faster, more desperate. Thump, thump, thump. Then Nkem's fingers hit something solid, cold, smooth, round. She froze. Emeka's eyes widened. Nkem, what is that? She wiped more soil away until a small section of clay pot emerged. The pot she buried. She reached for it, and the pot trembled in her hands. Emeka stumbled back. What is inside that pot? Nkem lifted it slowly. Her breath caught. The pot was warm, pulsing, alive. She raised it to her ear and heard a heartbeat inside. Fast, frantic, alive. Her vision blurred with tears. Nina, she whispered, this is your heart. Suddenly, the pot cracked. A small fracture split the surface, then another, then another. A blinding flash of pain shot through Nkem's head, another memory forcing itself to the surface. Flash, their father's laboratory. Surgical tools. 2 small girls crying. A doctor saying identical twins. One heart is failing. We transfer tissue, she will survive. Nena screaming, Nkem watching, a heart removed, a heart replaced. Nkem gasped and dropped the pot. It shattered on the ground, revealing a heart inside. Not rotten, not decayed, fresh, alive, beating. Her knees buckled. Emeka whispered, horrified, "Dear God." The truth washed over Nkem in a tidal wave. She didn't bury her own heart. She didn't bury trauma. She buried her sister's transplanted heart. The heart their father secretly removed. The heart she thought she lost to grief. The heart she believed was hers. Her sister's heart, still beating, still calling, still alive. Nkem fell to her knees as tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. "I didn't kill you," she whispered. "I didn't kill you." Behind her, the wind shifted. A shadow stretched across the ground, long, slender, feminine. "Nkem," the voice breathed into her ear, "you buried the wrong sister." Nkem thought burying the heart would silence her past, but the dead do not rest when the truth is still breathing. Shadows are moving, secrets are rising, and the night she feared the most is only just beginning. This is the end of part 1, but the darkness has not ended. Don't miss part 2, where the buried heart beats louder, and the truth finally claws its way to the surface. If this story gripped you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the continuation. Part 2 is coming, and trust me, you are not ready.